Hello there everybody, Reggie Time here with another 30 on a snap video. I mistakenly said my last one was somewhere in the 40s. It's actually still in the low 30s. I think this is episode 33, but again, I could be very wrong on that. Lots of you guys will be familiar with the format now. It's just going to be maybe 45 minutes or so, maybe less, maybe more of me playing some speed poker on Triple A and hopefully getting some fun spots and giving you guys plenty to think about, give myself plenty to talk about, and just make something that's fun for you guys to watch, and hopefully occasionally educational. I'm making this video at 2:05 on a Sunday afternoon. Games are looking okay. Plenty of UK players in, a few Australians. It's in the lobby looking worse. A few too many Eastern Europeans for my liking, but prefer to play later at night when a lot of those guys are in bed. But yeah, it's looking fine. Hopefully we should be able to get in some decent spots and make a few dollars, or at least if we don't make a few dollars, make a few nice plays. And if it doesn't work out, well, what the hell, it doesn't work out. I'm making this video at 2:05, which is unusual time for me to play because I'm about to watch the League Cup final in the UK. Hopefully cheering Liverpool on to a victory against Manchester City. For those you don't know, and none of you should know really, unless the guys who really know me well, I am an armchair Liverpool Football Club supporter. Very much an armchair supporter too. I did have a season ticket a long, long time ago, back before football clubs decided to price the working man out of the game. And yeah, I used to go. I used to go down the train every week, every the week with my friends. And yeah, it was bloody good fun. Not so much these days. That's kind of those days have kind of passed me by, unfortunately. So, some of you guys who watched a lot of my videos, you'll you might be surprised to see me open the fours, and this is why I don't really open pocket pairs that often from early middle position. Um, I'm far from convinced that it's profitable to do so. I will occasionally do it if I look around and I don't see any players tagged as like really good regulars. If I look at a table and don't see any like really good players at it, I'll maybe open them then. We've actually maybe a handful of players, two or three players that I know are very capable and aren't going to make too many mistakes. Then usually I just muck them from the first two seats because we get three bet too often, we get called floated in position too often, and pocket pairs just a lot of very easy to play post flop. If we miss, we just kind of pitch them. I just don't think they make me money. I don't think, say, deuces through sixes make any money under the gun, and maybe deuces through fours and fives don't make much money from middle position. So I did open them then because I looked around the table and didn't have many players marked or any players marked. That's why I decided to open it, but maybe we'll stick to that, just not opening it. Because if I am going to make a video that demonstrates how I play, we better make sure that I'm actually being true to myself. 9-7 off here. It's an appalling hand. But we are getting like 3-1 on our money, so it's probably not going to hurt just to take a flop there and just give up when we completely miss. Not 3-betting the jacks versus under the gun. We can't really handle a 4-bet. And usually, typically people raise under the gun. Although they will call with some of the range, usually putting people in a 4-bet or fold spot. When I've got two jacks, I don't want to be putting people in 4-bet or fold spots because when they fold, we don't make any money. When they 4-bet, I usually have to fold. So, yeah, we'll just call with them. There's some players I would 3-bet there. Guys who I know are capable of stacking off or like real premium weak bad players who I know, absolutely know will call with lots of worse hands. But for someone unknown more than 100 blinds, typically I'm just flat calling. and then taking it from post flop. Play my hand kind of face up post flop. If we flop well, as in we have an overpair, we'll stick around for a little while. If some overcards come and we get pressure applied to us, I usually won't take too much pressure. I mean, a little bit like a rich tea being dunked in a cup of tea. I'll usually just collapse pretty quickly. Am I getting jacks a lot? Am I going to actually make one of them sing? That's the question. This one's not going to sing too loud. Oh, I didn't realise, sorry, that was a mistake from me. I didn't notice the min raise under the gun. I obviously would have made a much bigger 3-bet had I noticed that. As it happens, never mind. We are where we are with it. We've got to get on with it. I'm just going to see about the jacks here. For no reason. I mean, I don't expect him to ever fold a better hand. I just don't want to get involved in a whole check call guessing game all the way down. It gets pretty messy. I don't want to get messy. I'd rather just see bet there. If we get raised, we're going to make a tight fold. If we get called, we're going to proceed with a little bit of caution on that board. Hopefully, we're just hoping to bet and just take the pot down. Even though I accept that we don't really make very much money with the bet, I still think it's a better play than just like checking and guessing all the way down. You just got to realise that when you do get some kind of action, you're probably not going to be in the best of shape. The best you can hope for is someone's maybe got a flush draw or they're clinging on with pocket 8s and pocket 9s. It'll help you check it down. But usually when we bet and we get called, it's usually going to be the end of the game. The end of the hand, should I say. We're not going to be looking to put too much more money in. Unless we improve, of course. Swoop Nasty. He gives me some shit in chat to Swoop Nasty. If you ever watch these videos, Swoop, stop being nasty to me. Literally, Swoop Nasty, stop being nasty. He's a new regular. I've only just noticed him recently, and he's made a couple of bad plays against me and blamed me for them. And yeah, he just seems to always now just be on my case, which I don't mind. I'm fine with it. But yeah, just give me a break. I don't want my concentration breaking, if possible. Yeah, that's a fine size. Don't let him at my 3-bets too small when I'm re-stealing. It's just because people min raise, it doesn't mean we have to make a really small 3-bet. Try and keep your 3-bet sizes up still, so you're not giving them too much of a good opportunity to flat in position and still have like really deep stacks post flop, because they're just going to outplay you all the time when that happens. We're just going to fold the 8s to the squeeze here from Yodders. And we've been 4-bet by somebody who doesn't have a full stack. I don't really want to get ace king in here, but I don't want to flat it. So we're just going to be, if it's a regular, I could think about maybe flatting and then looking to outplay a post flop somehow, but I think we're just going to 4-bet and get it in versus somebody who isn't playing a full stack. And if he's got the cure for ace king, well, hallelujah. But I think those guys will definitely stack off worse there. I don't know very much about Looney at all, but if I'm going to assume he's not a regular, and by that it could mean anything, it could mean it's a really fishy guy, it could just be someone who overplays ace queen and things, who knows. I don't know very much about him, but I'm going to assume he's going to make enough mistakes to make it absolutely fine. 3-bet fold the ace jack off here against Christian, again another player who I know almost nothing about. Oh, that was a mistake on the table 1. Ace 5 off is clearly an open from the button. A little bit of autopilot which can sometimes creep in when I'm playing, unfortunately. The question I need to ask myself here, do I want to 3-bet 9s? And the answer to that question right now is I don't know enough about Christian. 3-betting getting it in here would not be good. So we'll just start by calling, I think. There's some guys there who I know like always like 4-bet ace queen ace jack, that type of thing. 3-bet 5-betting's really good with 9s there. But I don't know anything about the doors whatsoever. So He made it small enough for us just to call and try and hit something. We didn't, and then the flop came really poor for us, so it's good by nines. Probably going to double barrel on table to 3, given we've got some backdoor equity. And he might just like call once or twice with pocket fours. So he might just call once with pocket fours, pocket fives, that type of thing, and then just always fold to a second barrel. He check raises, which looks like bullshit, to be completely honest with you. And would you raise a 7? Who knows? Shouldn't do. Would you raise deuces full? Maybe. But it does look like bullshit. I'm going to bet here, just try and make our opponent fold a hand like ace queen or ace jack or something up on table 2. I'm aware that the flush has got there, but he hasn't given me, well, he didn't fold the ace jack. That's exactly the type of hand I was trying to make him fold. He didn't fold it. I'm still happy with my play. It just didn't work. This ace jack down here, I'm really tempted. I think I'm just going to not fold to this guy. It looks like he could be bluffing a lot, and now we get a chance to, wow. He makes this like enormous bet. I think he's bluffing so much. I mean, do we have any fold equity here? This is the big question. If we could sometimes make him fold a hand like pocket 8s or pocket 9s, it's obviously really good to just shove here. I think we're going to shove. We got it in good, which is nice. Really like that hand. Really do like it. Not just because I won it, just because sometimes, you could just sniff things out. And I mean, when we get check raised on that board, it's just really hard for. I mean, who knows? He could easily just be the sort of guy who has 8-7 there and does that. I'm not saying he's always bluffing, but he just typically, when people raise those kinds of boards, there's an awful lot of, as Norman Chad would call it, posturing going on. I call it bullshit. It's just like, it just doesn't ring true. It's just not the type of board you typically get check raised on by a value hand. And if we find someone who is doing that with value, then we end up owning ourselves. But yeah, I'm happy with the hand, obviously. And that's probably going to be the hand I'll post to accompany the video because I think it's interesting. I certainly thought it was interesting anyway. Hope you guys did. What you guys should probably do as well while you're watching these videos is, instead of just watching through and getting the results straight away, when you get to an interesting spot like that, pause the video and think to yourself, right, what would I do in this situation? What do I start trying to think about what you would do, what your opponent's range looks like, how you would respond to the action that you've seen so far. Use the video in that way to really give yourself a good workout mentally. I'm going to bet twice here with his 10-9 now. It just doesn't look very much like anyone's got an ace. He's checked his limp spot. This one's checked through. That 10-9 probably isn't good. Now I've turned, so rivered some showdown values. Not really that much point in betting anymore. So he's going to check and hopefully get to show our hand down. And he did have an ace, so I think we can pretty much just give our friend here this tag. And happily move on. Just check back the 7-0 on the queen. So we're not checking back anyway, we called a raise, didn't we? Do apologise. We're not going to, we're just going to check fold the 7s here. It's a really big c-bet on that board texture, but we'll just let him take it. So now we've got another player limping in, so we're going to just keep tagging all of these players who do things that could be considered fishy, and we're just going to call with the ace-9 to try and keep Zween in the pot. Try and play a pot with Zween. Zween's the guy we're after. Not so much Liz, whatever the hell he's called, Lizowski. Um, we're going to stab the turn here if it checks through again, but we're not going to stab this flop. And we'll probably bet twice if it checks through a second time, just to make sure we get people off pocket pairs. That might be a little bit stubborn. We don't have to bet too big because we're not trying to make somebody fold a king or a queen, obviously. We just try to make somebody fold a hand like 2-8s, 2-7s, 2-5s, that type of thing, all in middle pairs. Zween's a danger man here. If he was going to call, I'm going to assume it's going to be Zween. Lizowski probably doesn't have a hand, he's checked twice. With Zween in the pot, you'd imagine he would have bet if he had a value hand. Looked up to see we flop 2 pair, was quite excited, then I saw his stack size. And then my excitement came down slightly. And we just go all in there because obviously any bet's the same as an all in, given this, the amount of money in his stack. There wasn't an awful lot of point in trying to bet 120 or something and try and induce some spew. It just isn't going to work. He's going to call 120 if he's going to stack off, I would imagine. So someone else limping under the gun without a full stack, so they get that tag. We're going to 3-bet the ace king with a view to 5-bet shoving it. And we're not going to c-bet this board against a player that's limp called. We're just kind of giving up. It's a terrible board for us in terms of getting folds from this type of player. And sure, yeah, if he shows down pocket threes here now or something, that'd be a little bit cheesed off because we could have got him to fold a hand like that. But he's going to have plenty of ace highs and king highs. We might somehow beat like king jack, ace jack, ace 10, that type of thing. Ace 10 exactly. So we didn't need to bluff there. It's just a shitty board for us. Not much good can happen. There's not really that much point in building a pot on that board. If we assume a guy's going to fold sometimes, we can sometimes c-bet bluff them. But against limp callers, that's just not the kind of board I'm going to try and run any bluffs on. As you can see, I play a relatively tight style. I'd say my overall stats in these games would be around 1914, 1915 with around a 5 to 6% 3-bet. It's very, very typical micro-stakes tag. Where I feel my edge comes against a lot of my regular opponents is I just feel like I play better than the post-flop a lot of the time. I don't check back in some of the spots they check back in with value hands. I feel that I sometimes maybe bluff just a little bit smarter. Just all the little things that just little mistakes. I feel I make less small mistakes than other regulars do post flop. I could be wrong, but that's where my edge comes from. I think I'm also a little bit better against fish too. I make less mistakes. I give a lot more thought to what I'm trying to do. I see lots of players in pots. They're just like, not necessarily in the pots, but when I look at the stats, I see them in these games with their 85% C bets and their 99% or 100% 3-betting C-bet pots, just things like that. That they're just obviously completely standard lines that they have that they take against everybody because they're doing it too much. I make less of those types of mistakes. That's where I think my edge comes. This not necessarily against those players, but my edge, as in having a slightly bigger win rate than them against versus the pool and other regulars do, is because they can make less mistakes against the fish. Although that could be completely wrong. It's just how it feels to me when I do some work on my most frequent opponents. Not an earthly I'm going to see by that board. Our ace king is shortly going to be hitting the muck, just about now. Interesting flop. The kind of flop where we just have to bomb it and then just, if he raises, just get the money in and hope to win. I guess that king is not a nice turn card. I do not want to bet fold here, so I'm just going to check. Probably end up bet folding the river. Sorry, check folding the river. We think we have to call here just for the chance we can fill up. And then just like shove the river and get called by ace-x all day. Unfortunately, we do not fill up, so I'm just going to be check folding now. Unless he bets incredibly small, which would be quite infuriating. If he bets like $2.50, $3, I'll probably have to call. But most of the time, I'm just going to have to fold and just have a little sad face on for a moment. Of course, he could have bluffed us there, or he could have had some two-pair type hand. I guess it's just overplaying, but he's just going to have an ace so often there. We've been 3-bet and then called. My hand was a little bit stronger, I would play it, but don't think it's strong enough. So we're just going to let it go. And it wasn't close to strong enough. We were in rough shape. So I pat myself on the back for my discipline there. I'm just going to bet fold here with our queen shitty kicker. The 8's not great. Don't want to check fold though. I think check folding will be too weak, so I think we're just going to bet. And just hope he's somehow like a 9 or something like that he can call us with. He did have the 8. Never mind. Never mind. Maybe that was a little bit too thin on the river there, without just because our kicker was so poor. But that player's just going to have like 9x there, pocket 10s, pocket 7s, enough that he'll probably call a bet that size just out of sheer curiosity. Flopped ace deuce here. If I do something you don't often see people doing videos, it's because it's into somebody who looks like he's not a regular. I'm just going to donk because my hand is pretty vulnerable, and I think I can definitely get value, lots of value from worse. He's not going to fold any ace-x, for example. Yeah, we missed the chance to check raise his c-bet bluffs. But I'm going to assume that he's not going to be c-bet bluffing too often there, and I think donking against that player type, and not that I know much about him, but against somebody who isn't buying for a full stack, who's probably not going to be that good. I think donking against those guys there with 2-pair is going to show more profit than going for a check raise. I just think we get to just go bet, shove way more often, which obviously is really good for us. Whereas if we go check raise, yeah, if you've got an ace, we're still going to get to stack his ace, but we get to stack his ace either way around. But when we check, I mean, I guess check raise is good too, but prefer donking into bad players. Not much happening for us here, so we're just going to let this one go. Funny monkey. Don't believe he checks back a queen too often. fuck it, maybe he does, who knows. But the question is, do I bet to try and get him off a hand like pocket nines? I think I will. I think I'll just like blast it, try and put maximum pressure on a hand like two nines, two eights, that type of thing. And he ripped the queen ten. So yeah, kind of warned myself a couple of times now why people playing passively with better hands than me. That does show how difficult it can be to play that position sometimes. I will go back and mark some of these hands because these are lines that I will typically take against people who check back flops. So if I find people checking back flops with top pair, then obviously that's really, really quite bad for my strategy. So anytime I find somebody who plays in a way that exploits my, even though they're not trying to exploit me, if they just play in a manner that exploits my strategy for in spots like that, I'll just put a little note on them so I don't repeat the error, so to speak. I'm going to fold the king queen. I don't think it's a huge error what I did just there, by the way. I don't think it's a huge error at all. I just don't want to make the same mistake against the same players over and over, especially when they see me doing that, because it will encourage them to slow play against me more often. Why do I want to call with this ace queen? Normally I hate paying off. But for some reason I just want to call with this. Never mind. Somebody else we can just put a tag on. It's somewhat unfortunate, but when we have a bunch of equity there, two overs and a backdoor flush draw against his one pair hands, and there could be stuff that we're just ahead of that he's just fucking around with king high, jack high, queen high, who knows. Three with the king queen, but I am going to be a little bit cautious because of his stack size. That we are going to start possibly building a pot where I might be overcommitted, but we're going to do it anyway because with his stack size, we're going to assume he's going to have some quite loose calling requirements. So therefore, we'd like three betting for value with king queen there. Problem is when we start three betting for value pre-flop, for thin value, it can get us into trouble post-flop quite quickly. So we just need to be aware of that before we do it. Thin value pre turns into very thin value post very quickly. Or can do. Do I want to play the stacks here with two nines? I'm not worried about play hard in the slightest. We can squeeze fold the nines here actually and just fold to till out if he four bets and stack off against play hard if he shoves on us. Sadly we get called in two spots and that is not a great flop. Oh, this is a great board up here. We're going to desperately hope our opponent has a king. And he had even better. He had the threes, which is unfortunate for him. Well, good for us. And that's what counts. Not much going on in the ace queen here. Not 1-4. Overextending myself in multi-way pots. I wasn't even that fond of calling pre. I don't like playing versus undergun, especially against like players who are no regulars. Don't have him tagged, but I know he's a regular. It's just hard to win a big pot there. We flop an ace or a queen, which sometimes gets to catch a c-bet if someone just like stabs on a like an ace high or a queen high dry board. Maybe sometimes they have king queen and we get two streets from them or something, but it's hard to win a big pot with ace queen versus a regulars under the gun open where in the blinds it's not that hard to lose medium sized pots. So Yeah, I'm not in love with it. Crispy. Always a little bit leery of pot size opens. We can float once here. For sure, we're going to see bet here with our multitude of backdoors. And we can just float once. That's not a great turn card. If he checks, we'll probably end up barreling off here. Wow. That is a interesting bet, sir. I think we can probably take Crispy as some kind of fish. He's our friend Superflu again, who called us with his 5-7 and or whatever it was, 5 something, and walloped it into us when he flopped second pair. Looks like a flop that I'm going to try and get all the money in on. Oh, is calling better? We're just raising to achieve. Doesn't fold anything better. Well, maybe he does. Maybe he just folds a kings or a queens. Seems unlikely, but maybe he does. Yeah, fuck it. I think raising is actually better. Because he can sometimes occasionally fold pocket queens there. Or pocket kings. I guess. And we don't care anyway because we've got a pair in the nut flush draw, so when I have a pair in the nut flush draw, I'm not going to care too much if all the money goes in. I'm going to be happy with the fact that I'm going to be in, well, never going to be in bad shape. I did go through a spell of 3-bet, 5-bet jamming pocket pairs from the blinds versus button opens. Didn't work out too well. It's not something I'd be doing again in a hurry. There's a guy in my student group who I disagree with who claims, or he believes, not claims, he believes you can't get anything worse than queens in speed poker and expect to show a long-term profit. It's an interesting question. It's an interesting point of view. I happen to think he's wrong. But yeah, I'd be interested in hearing people's opinions on that. Because he's going to overlay. We're not going to try and squeeze two people with a hand that doesn't flop very well. Well, it flops well in terms of when it flops well, it flops well, but it doesn't give us many chances to be aggressive. And looks like we're probably just going to have to fold now. We've been isolated to 7x. Be interesting if those two came along. I'd probably be tempted to flick it in then, but no. So yeah, pocket queens are worse pre-flop, all in pre-flop. I mean, my contention is that it it can't be a losing play, and on top of that, yeah, fair enough. When we actually get it in, we're going to be up against kings and aces a fair amount, I would imagine. We're going to be flipping a fucking huge amount of two. You would think sometimes getting it in good, and then also you get the times where you just pick up the money in the pot because we get folds. So I mean, you're never going to ever hear me saying that we can't like 3-bet, 5-bet, or 4-bet call it off with queens. You'll never hear me saying that, but it's interesting that he thinks that way. Who knows? Maybe there's some pools in the world where the games are just that nitty that it's not profitable. But I find that hard to believe, very hard to believe. But he's convinced, so you know. He's a thoughtful guy, puts a lot of thought into poker, so maybe he's teaching me something, but I doubt it. I don't mean that in an arrogant sense. I just no, I just cannot accept that getting queens all in pre-flop is a losing play. Giving up here when we've been check called on this board. Hope to hit. We do not hit, so Never mind. I'm not going to try and make him fold a queen here. I think he's probably going to have a queen most of the time. Or maybe a scared king now with the flushes come. I'm going to be a bit peeved if he shows me something worse than a queen, but we do have some showdown value against like Jack 10 and things too. I should have just shoved. I didn't realise I'd left this guy with 49 cents. Oh well, never mind. Fuck my life, I guess. Another guy who can get the fishy tag. Oh, Romanian. Very rare you get to tag a Romanian with the fish icon. Hey, we're just going to fold the ace-10. How long are we going for? 36 minutes. Probably going to go for another few minutes then. I'm going to start preparing for the match. It doesn't kick off for another hour or so, but I'd like to get the video produced and up so I can just then get on and focus on watching the match and cheering the mighty Reds to victory from my armchair. This creates a pretty bad regular. But I'm still going to try and c-bet. 2 overcards is just so useful. It's just a really useful bit of equity to have when you are c-betting. Because you just suck out plenty of the time with 2 overs. We're not going to continue on this 7. It's a dreadful card to continue on once he's called the flop. But there we go. Potentially sucked out. I don't think we have sucked out in this instance. I'm not going to call if he bets. But on some different runouts, sometimes you just hit your pair often enough to make it okay. I don't need to turn my jack into a bluff here. So I'm just going to check back and hope to win. Wow, he's called me as late as that. Can't see that's going to be a winning play against me long term, sir, but maybe it is, who knows. I'm aware that Crispy is somewhat manic, or could potentially be manic here. What's the nuts? The nuts is the 10-6, isn't it? No, it's not, it's a 10-jack. I think we have to call just because Crispy gives me the impression that he's a fucking certified nutter. Whether to raise or not, that's my question. Do I try and represent a flush? Do I just call? We're never folding. And we chop it up. That's why I was considering raising. But I kind of thought it's Crispy. It's probably not going to fold a straight. And as I've got the worst straight possible, then let's just call. Swoop nasty. My man. Again, c-betting because of our overs and backdoor straight draw. And he lets us take it down without a fight, which is pretty nice of him. And he didn't say anything to me in chat, so I guess he must be busy. So yeah, we're going to call it a day now on the video. We're going to be just about at 40 minutes by the time we played around to our blinds. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed making it. It's been a fun session. Good hand with the ace-jack. We had a few interesting talking points, so fingers crossed you guys get something from it. If you do want to have a chat with me about perhaps having a session with me, please do get in touch. My contact details can be found below the video or via my website at reggieTimePoker.com. Please do go and check it out. The site is still work in progress, I'm afraid. The young lad I've got working on it for me is pretty fucking lazy. And I've asked him to make quite a few additions to it lately. He said next time I'm at a computer I'll do it. This was 5 days ago, and the guy's like 23, so he'll be at his computer on a fucking daily basis. He's just palming me off, but never mind. I'm not paying him very much, so don't suppose I can give him too much of a hard time about it. But yeah, please do check out my website. Hopefully there'll be some more articles going up there soon. You'll find out a little bit more about me. And yeah, fingers crossed everything goes well. Have a great weekend, everybody. If you see this video before your Sunday grind tonight, good luck in that, and I hope one of yous wins something nice, or more of yous. Bye-bye for now.